Today's subject in our value education class is going to be probably, in my opinion, the most important one of all of them that we'll be reviewing. And that is inner peace. Inner peace. It's a really nice word, but it's very difficult for us to understand what does inner peace really mean. Does anybody have some initial thoughts on that? What inner peace means to you? Anyone? I see. We are all equally in the same boat. Well, let us take a look and see what the Course says. Inner peace. Discovering inner peace enables an individual to understand the self. The self is not your thoughts, not your mind, not your clothing, not your family relations, but your true self is that which watches the activity of the mind, that which feels the sensations of the body, that makes no sound, goes nowhere, was never born, will never die, can neither be wet by water, burned by fire, hurt by the wind. This is from the Upanishads, by the way. And that inner self is the essence of peace. Well, what does that really mean? It means it is in total balance. There are no energies moving within the essence of yourself. It's simply that awareness. It's called by many things in the yogic culture. It's called Brahman. Not Brahma, which is the creator, but Brahman. Brahman, which is that infinite, immortal, unchanging consciousness. And the characteristic or essence of that consciousness is absolute peace. Because it doesn't move. It can't change. It just is. It is that inner awareness which allows us to see the thoughts, to look through the eyes, to hear through the ears, to eat through the mouth. It is that which experiences it, you see. This body was born. It will die. Somebody gave you a name, or that body a name, when you came to life. You learned many different things. You're told you had a family, that you had this, you were that. And all of these layers do nothing but cover up your essential nature. None of those things are you. You didn't come with them, now did you? I didn't come into this world with the name Bob. I was just an innocent, pure soul with that pure awareness shining forth, immovable, unchanging. And over time, we put layers and layers and layers over it. Thoughts, concepts, belief systems, right? These are the things that cloud our experience of that which is our true nature. Okay? Seems reasonable, right? I mean, your own experience tells you this, now doesn't it? If that is the case, then how do we experience it? How do we experience more of that peace, which is our essential nature? A very good way is meditation. These are some of the tools that have come down and essentially started in India thousands and thousands of years ago. The great rishis from the past They went on inner exploration. They asked themselves this question, who am I? Because they saw that they weren't the body, that they weren't the mind. There was something that was watching the body, something seeing through the eyes. But the eyes weren't them. The body was them. So how do you find what you truly are? The only way, or one of the best ways, is to turn your attention around. In other words, that beingness, that pure essence of existence is focused outward, looking at a field of change, not looking at itself. If it were to look at itself, it would see what it is, which is infinite silence, total balance, without the movement of any energy, left or right, high or low, good or bad. Those exist in the field of change. Okay? So, in order to experience that inner peace and begin to integrate that into the mind and body, we need a mechanism, a tool, if you will, of being able to turn that attention, because attention is another word for consciousness. That's very important to understand. Your attention, where your attention is, that's where the focus of your awareness is. Whether it's on a thought, people, situation. Now, when we sit and meditate, what are we doing? Well, first of all, we want to try and set the conditions where we can begin minimizing external distractions that tend to pull the conscious mind in multiple directions. So what does that mean? When you meditate, try to find a quiet spot. Not real bright lighting, but comfortable. Sit comfortably. If you feel comfortable crossing your legs, fine. Doesn't matter. But, you don't have to do fancy mudras or fancy asanas. No. My guru told me once, he said, Sujay, which is what he called me, he said, it's so simple to be happy. But on the other hand, he said, it is so difficult to be simple. Because we're taught to overcomplicate things. Anything worth doing is complicated. You got to work hard. Well, maybe, but probably not as hard as if we worked efficiently and effectively. But in this case, no effort is needed, or such a small amount that it doesn't really count. And what do I mean? We said we go to a place that's somewhat quiet, so we're not going to have a lot of noises distracting us. We're not going to have people running back and forth. It's, not real bright. So just comfortable, relaxing, setting the stage, which will make it easier for us to rotate our attention inward. Now, how can we do that without yet concentrating on just one more concept, another idea, which still, again, covers over that field of pure awareness? What can we do? Well, we can use tools of meditation that turn the attention inward, being aware of the breathing. Letting your attention, that awareness, rest upon the breathing. This technique is over 5,000 years old. This is nothing new. I didn't make it up. It's been in the scriptures, Indian scriptures, for thousands of years. And what that does is, breathing is natural. You don't have to work at it, do you? There's no belief. You don't have to believe in breathing. You don't have to think about breathing, do you? It happens effortlessly, doesn't it? Because there is no meaning for the mind to get attached to, because there's no effort expended for your awareness or attention to effortlessly be aware of the inflow of air, the outflow of air, or the movement of the chest. Just something that allows you to place your attention in something that does not have the obstruction nature of thoughts. Right? Because thoughts cause ripples in the mind. Those ripples further cover that silent essence, that silent being, that silent consciousness, which is our true nature. So, the other critical aspect, which is the simple part, is there's going to be thoughts come in, like you experienced right in class today. You're going to have your attention on your breathing. Oh, you'll hear some noise over here, or something, oh, I've got my next class, or you'll hear something from outside, or you'll feel some sensation in the body, right? This is normal, natural, this is life. The key is letting go. The most important part of being able to meditate properly is letting go of all of these thoughts, feelings, emotions, distractions. We don't allow the attention to focus on them. As soon as we become aware, oh, my attention's not on the breathing, we bring it back gently. Well, what's going on there? I mean, how does that bring about inner peace? Well, what is thought? Anybody know? Thought is energy in motion. Now, it may be a picture, it may be a sound, it may be sensation, but thought is nothing more than energy in motion. Now, where does the thought come from? If I'm just sitting here quietly, I didn't tell this thought to come in, did I? It just kind of was there. It doesn't matter what it is, but it sort of appeared, didn't it? How did that happen? As we go through life, certain actions that we do make impressions in our subconscious. Call it a little knot of energy. We experience something happy, we experience something sad, we experience something which is intense, something we have to learn or deal with. That external event causes a form of energy to be stuck, if you will, within the subconscious. Now, when we sit quietly, not paying attention to anything in particular, what happens? The energy of that impression begins to loosen up or evaporate, which would be a good analogy, like water on a hot plate. The steam that arises is equivalent to a thought. So energy that of the thought came from you didn't call it, it just sort of came, didn't it? It's coming from a pattern that was embedded within our subconscious. Yeah? Now here's the deal. This is very, very, very important. And it's all on this road to inner peace. And that is a thought. If it is not fed with our attention or our consciousness, it will rise, and the energy that caused it to be there will then subside. A thought can only last about 2.5 seconds without our attention feeding it. Our attention, our awareness is attached to that infinite reservoir of energy which animates all creation. All creation. And if we don't pay attention, that vapor, that steam, if you will, from the thought just dissipates and the thought subsides. Now, if we're not paying attention and we come back to the breathing, that little bit we don't have to attend to anymore. Little by little, as these thoughts arise and fall, if we keep letting go of them, it's like a tank full of gas. They little by little use up the energy that caused them to be stored in our unconscious until they're simply gone. It may take some time. It depends on how deep they are embedded. It depends on how much energy they contain. But over time, if we keep letting go, and we may have to do that a lot, the energy that was stored there dissipates. Now what happens when that dissipates? Two things. That means that bit of steam, if you will, or that bit of energy coming up as a thought doesn't come up anymore because the energy's dissipated. And if that doesn't come up, it does not obscure that true self, that being within ourselves, as bad. It's like some of the clouds disappear away from the sun. The sun is always shining. That being, that energy, that sliver of God, if you will, that makes us part of creation is always there, just covered over with all these thoughts, feelings, and energies which we accumulate through life. So meditation is an effortless way of little by little allowing these energies to dissipate. And what happens then? In that natural action, and what we're talking about is something that is incredibly profound but natural, because it doesn't take any effort on our part. As the mind becomes more clear, then that sun or awareness within us can shine more brightly through the mind. And as it does that, the body begins to get great relaxation. The mind can become more focused without us doing anything. Because all that stuff is leaving the system. And like peeling an onion, if you take an onion and you peel and you peel and you peel and you peel, what's at the center of an onion when you peel it all? Anybody? Come on. Many of you peeled onions. What's left?
So it lets a little bonfire flame.
Maybe. But that has a layer also. If you keep peeling an onion right down to its very center, there's nothing left. There's nothing left. The onion is nothing more than a lot of layers. And at its core, it's nothing. At your core, it's not that you're nothing, you are that infinite source of consciousness, of energy, of intelligence, of balance. Because that within us has no left, no right, no top, no bottom, no good, no bad. It simply is. It is ultimate peace. So this journey that we have just taken is a way, a simple mechanism of enhancing our inner peace, which is silence, which is balance, which is a lack of conflict of thoughts, ideas, and beliefs. All of these things, if we're in meditation and we let this go and we let that go, little by little, all these onions within us get peeled. One layer, another layer, until eventually there is nothing to obstruct that pure being, that infinite energy, that Brahman within us. That is called moksha. That is called liberation. You don't have to sit in a cave to get it. You don't have to do, incredibly complicated asanas. You don't have to study scriptures until the cows come home. You just have to stop doing and start being. You're a human being, not a human doing. You should write that down. You're a human being, not a human doing. So yes, we know that we have to do things in life. We've got to work, we want to survive. But in order to keep our lives in balance, there's times when we must dive into that silence within us. It's always there. All we have to do is create the conditions. Nice place, sit comfortably, pay attention to the breathing, let go of thoughts, sensations, and sounds. Just allow it to flow like a river. And it is then peace comes upon us by the activities of the mind becoming less. Because the nature of that beingness is inner peace. That's what it is. So we're simply clearing away the rubble effortlessly, naturally, that is covering over that which is our essential or true nature. This is what Krishna taught Arjuna on the battlefield. If any of you read the Gita, you know this. This is what Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman all did. This is what the great sages have guided humanity from time immemorial. Somewhere along the line, we lost our way. We began to think that doing was the only thing that mattered. And what happens when our lives are totally out of balance? Ulcers, heart attacks, cancer. Dis-ease, a lack of peace. So, not only am I talking about something which might be considered esoteric or, very abstract, I'm talking about something very practical, where the mind is more focused effortlessly because there's not as much conflicting thoughts. Little by little, the mind begins to clear. So studying becomes easier. Memory becomes easier, right? The body gets deep rest. The energy associated with that light within us permeates the body more, and we are healthier. The cells function better. The whole organism functions better. So inner peace isn't just a mental thing. It's also a physical thing. You want to be healthier? It's not just eating right. It's not just exercising right, but giving the body a chance to settle down into a space of deep silence, deep quiet. And in that settling down, it becomes more energized. It can repair itself better. This is a very practical life technique, not just something, it's not religious or esoteric. It has nothing to do with that at all. It's something that allows you to finally answer that question. Who am I? Because I guarantee you, if you say that, oh, I'm a name, oh, I'm this body, oh, I'm this thought, you will constantly be lost in the world of change. Because all of those things that you thought you were will always change. Your body changes. Your thoughts change. Right? Ideas, identities, all of these things change. But that one thing that is within you never changes. never changes. It is that which is within you. It is within all creation. Well, that's interesting. If I begin to see that divinity within myself, that God within myself, then I have the opportunity to see it in others. No matter what their behaviors might be, no matter what they might look like, we sense, we feel that which is within them is the same that is within me. So if they and I are ultimately the same at that most fundamental level, how can I harm that? It's like harming myself. Why would I do that? It's only when we identify or hold on to the illusion, the false images, the false gods, if you will, that we put in our life as being, oh, if I'm a doctor, I will have everything. If I'm an engineer, I will have everything. No, you won't. You may be able to make a living, but that doesn't mean you're going to be happy. That doesn't mean you're going to be peaceful. It just means you can make a living. Now, if you don't care about being happy, which I doubt anybody here would say that, then fine. Go kill yourself to study and spend lots of money getting degrees behind your name and crawling up the corporate ladder, right? To big offices and all this ego stuff. And then you'll watch it piece by piece torn away. Because it will. You never take anything with you but that which you are. So become more acquainted with that inner part of yourself that doesn't change. That is the essence of inner peace. And all of these other things will be enhanced. The studying will become easier. Opportunities will just find us instead of us trying to crawl after them, because we are in harmony with life instead of in conflict with it. Remember, we are all a part of this great experiment called creation. The more we understand the essence of ourselves and that which makes up all creation, the easier is it for us to live and move in a way that is in harmony with it. That harmony is inner peace, you see. Yes, it takes some effort. The only effort it is to sit your fanny in a chair. Take a few minutes out of your oh-so-busy day that is all so important and devote maybe 10 minutes twice a day to finding out what and who you really are, to be able to clear the mind, be prepared for that next move forward, to let the body repair itself better, to get profoundly deep rest. All of these things, by another name, is called inner peace. And I know this to be true because I have walked this path my whole life, ever since I was small. Well, small. I was 18 years old, and I was in a war, not much older than you. And I would see people killing each other, blowing things up, chaos, hatred, all this stuff. And somehow I got this thought, is this what we are? Is this what we're meant to be? Just constantly in conflict? This person believes this person believes that. And because they're different, they're going to kill each other? This doesn't make any sense. I mean, I wasn't the brightest light bulb in the pack, but I could at least see that there was something fundamentally wrong with the way that we as human beings are acting. And I started with books on philosophy, Western philosophy, and they didn't do anything for me. Kind of chased my tail, just more intellectual stuff. And this friend of mine, when I got out of the service and I started going back to school and working full time, I was exhausted all the time. And a friend of mine's mother taught this transcendental meditation that was from the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi in the middle 60s. Well, she was a teacher. And she would see that I was basically burning myself out. I was stressed, I was tired, I looked miserable, I wasn't happy, I was trying to survive. That's all I had. And she loved me enough to want to change that. So one day when I went to visit her, she said to me, "Son, I want you to come here, sit down, shut up, do what I tell you, and when we're done, you can ask questions." That's how I learned to meditate at the age of, how was I? I was 21. Though these thoughts have been percolating in my mind for several years before. It's the first time when my eyes were closed, it was like a huge field of blackness, of chaos. But there was this one little pinpoint of light. Even in that very first time I meditated, just a small little bit. That I found different. Because that was nothing about reading or believing or anything. It was something that was pure me. So I decided to keep doing it and see where it goes. Little by little, that light expanded and the darkness receded. So at one point I said, this makes sense. It was practical. My studies came easier. I had a 3.8 grade point average. I still work full time. They graduated me a semester early at a computer science degree because I had not only completed all the work, but I used to teach the class. I would learn something, and the next semester I would teach it. So this stuff works. It's not just woo-woo spiritual stuff. It's practical. And as a result of that, I eventually quit my job. I went to the island of Mallorca, which is in the Mediterranean near Africa and Spain. And I spent 5 months with the Maharishi learning how to teach meditation. This was back in 1971, where I met my wife Vidya. And the reason I did that was that if this has made such a dramatic change in my life, maybe it can help somebody else. Maybe it can make their life a little easier, a little better. For some strange reason, I had that need or that desire that if they are more peaceful, if they have a little bit more inner peace, maybe there'll be a little bit less conflict. Maybe there'll be a little bit less hatred. Maybe there'll be more compassion. Maybe there'll be a little bit more love. So that's been my journey up and including this day. Because why? Because it's worth it. Because I found something within myself that was lovable, that was loving. And I could begin to see that same thing in others. And I wanted to share that. Because when they had a smile on their face, it's like a rebound effect. It kind of lit up my heart. Because they were happy. They were more at peace. I was as well. Because we're all connected. We're all one underneath these appearances. There is that unchanging, eternal Brahman, that eternal force, energy, whatever you want to call it, God. The name doesn't matter. So that's what, for me, inner peace is about. It's what it is. It's how I, on my journey, am still finding and implementing that in my own life. And for me, it worked. And I'm hoping that for you, it will also work. I know if you do it, it will, but you do have to do it yourself. Someone like me or my guru, in my case, they can shine a light on the path, but you've got to walk it. Nobody can do this for you. All I can do is tell you what possibilities that you have. That you are divine. You're not this little body and mind and thoughts. Go find that within yourself and live a full life, a balanced life, and true happiness that no one can ever take away from you, no matter what happens in life. It can never be affected once you realize what you truly are within. Anybody have any questions? So that's the little talk on inner peace. I hope that gave you some ideas and thoughts and why I do the things that I do and what you can also do for yourself. Any questions, ideas, comments? Okay, CK?